Hey friends, I'm Victoria. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're talking about how to make the most of your food budget without having to eat top ramen all week. So, because I haven't done that since college, I'm not suggesting it now. So I'm going to talk about some things that I do, and maybe these are new ideas for you, maybe they aren't. But hopefully what you get out of this is just a few ideas that you can tweak to help make your food budget last even longer, because prices seem like they're continuing to go up, which is kind of annoying. And yeah, I want to spend less money on food, not more. Okay, so let's talk about the main things that are going to help us make the most of our food budget. The first is we have to plan for the week ahead. Seriously. This is a step. This is so boring. We have to do it. And I have a free download if you guys want to just download a one-pager. One thing I like about it is it has little areas where you can circle like meat, chicken, beef, fish. So you can easily see, okay, I'm eating fish once a week. I'm eating chicken once a week. I'm eating beef once a week, or whatever. So for those people who are looking to maintain your protein, this may be helpful. So I'll include the link below to that. Like I said, it's free. I don't need your email or anything. Just figure it out. Okay, the second thing is I want you to think about what you can save from last week. Okay, let me share with you a couple things that I can save from last week, starting with these little baby apples, okay? I did not use them all, and I've shared with you my apple cake recipe. This is a recipe that I can always make. My kids love it, my husband loves it. I think it's pretty tasty. But depending upon how many apples, or you could even use pears with it. I had someone that told me that they use pears with it. Fantastic. Depending upon how much fruit you have, depends upon if you could do like one cake or two. Also, sad sweet potatoes. I need to peel these and cut them up. And guess what? They will freeze just fine. You can put them in a Ziploc bag or another type of freezer safe container, like a stasher or something like that. And I'll put a link below to some of the freezer safe products that I like. But why not cut it up and put it in your freezer, and then it's ready to go? Or you could meal prep and cut it up and cook it, and then it's ready to go for lunch or whatever meal. What else? I have a small butternut squash and a large butternut squash. Guess what we're having this week? Butternut squash soup. Now, my youngest does not like butternut squash soup, so I'll probably make this for a lunch for myself and my husband and my oldest son. But see what you can use around the house. One thing is, sometimes there's fails in the kitchen, like for example, bread. Okay, so this is one of my fails. I like to make ciabatta rolls, and these, too hard. So I'm gonna end up turning these into breadcrumbs, and then my kids can make something with it. My son likes to make a spicy chicken that's kind of breaded, so we can use these, but these are like, so funny. I mean, this is like live TV here, folks. Okay, so you see what I mean? These are so super hard. We can make something else out of these. We can make it work. Okay, once you've checked out to see what you have from last week and you have a plan, I want you to check for sales. Now, this is an old mom trick from back in the day. My mom used to check weekly sales for Albertsons and Vons and the whole deal. Even if it was a store that she didn't shop at very much, she would look in the newspaper, like I said back in the day, to see what was on sale that she could pick up. She would either freeze it, if it was something like 20 pounds of glorious fruit, she would a lot of times make jam and can it. She would have a plan for whatever it is. Like I said, we need to have a plan. So I want you to check your favorite stores and see what their sales are, because that might save you a couple bucks. How does that align with your grocery list? And let's talk about seasonal food. So seasonal fruits and vegetables are going to generally cost you less than if you were to just buy whatever. So one thing I want to point out is like this Okay, we have canned pumpkin. I picked up a case of this at Costco. Now, Costco's really great for doing this. They'll have a case of something that is seasonal. A lot of times buying a whole case is cheaper than buying one can. So I would check out your local stores. I would check out Costco. And then something else I want you to check out is your food delivery and if you go into the grocery store versus doing like curbside pickup, like whatever the thing is. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So what I want you to check is the prices of if you're going into the store and picking it up versus something like a curbside pickup. Let me give you an example. So when I first moved to Texas, I discovered H-E-B and I was like, where have you been all my life? Because hello, they have barbecue at every H-E-B practically. One thing I've noticed was they have a curbside pickup. I thought this is fantastic. It can save me so much time. I can just go in and pick it up. But the thing is, if you are picking up during prime time, let's say 5 p.m., a lot of times you're there with a gazillion other people and you might be waiting, and time is money. So another thing that I've noticed is that for every item I have for pickup, for curbside pickup with H-E-B, it is 50 cents to $1 more expensive than if I were to go into the store. You just have to understand that that's them recouping the cost of hiring somebody to go around the store and pick up every little thing that you need and putting it in a bag, and then to have someone be out on the back patio and bring your order out to you, right? They're recouping their costs. So just understand that. There's another option as well. So I want to talk to you about one of my favorites, which is Misfits Market. So Misfits started because they were selling produce that looked funky, right? So maybe it was really big, or maybe it was really small, or maybe like it didn't fit with the standards of the grocery stores. And so they started selling this odd shaped produce. And when I first was introduced to them, probably 5 years ago, I loved it. And let me tell you, when I lived in California, I had a spreadsheet where I kept track of all our grocery expenses. Why? Because California is a freaking expensive state to live in. And I wanted to know I was getting the best price for all of my groceries. It was so expensive. And I like I said, I had my spreadsheet. I wanted to know I was getting the best price for all of my produce. Okay. So I signed up for Misfits. Fast forward a couple years now, and they definitely have grown. And I have moved to a cheaper state. So Texas, I figured out when I moved here, our groceries were roughly 40% less than in Texas. So the unit price of each item, like this sweet potato, is not necessarily cheaper than in the grocery store. But you have to look at it like this. I didn't need to make a trip to the grocery store. That's a convenience, but also it's a money saver in terms of gas. And secondly, if I get all of my groceries delivered and they deliver exactly what I want for the week, then it's saving me from going to the grocery store at all. This to me is something that is a little ironic. Like, I love cooking. I really don't love going to the grocery store. And I find that sometimes like they switch up the whole store. That can be confusing, and it's hard to find stuff. Then you have to ask somebody. It's a pain, right? So I use Misfits Market for getting things like organic artichokes, which are hard to find sometimes. So organic artichokes, and then they have great specials. So let me tell you about the salt that I've been picking up lately. So here's the deal with salt. I recently learned that salt isn't just salt. Like, iodized salt is crap, right? That's bad for you. You should be using sea salt. But I think it was Lead Safe Mama did a study on all of the different salts that you could buy. So there was Redmond salt, which I have used a lot of. And then there was all these different bougie salts like Celtic salt. And they gave a report on lead and other heavy metal contents in the salt. And you have to think about it, most of these companies, they're getting the salt from the sea where we have microplastics and a bunch of other crap happening, right? So of course, it's hard to filter that stuff out. You're gonna end up having, heavy metals, microplastics, whatever in your salt. So one of the brands I have heard is the best for salt is Jacobsen. And I just never tried it. It was like, should I order it on Amazon? I don't know. Well, I found it on Misfits, and it is half the price of where I can get it in other stores. So I've been buying a container, probably twice the size, I'll show it to you in a second, a container of salt with each order, and it's roughly $7. And is that busting the bank? No, but stuff like that I can stock up on. And when I look to see that stuff is on sale, like for a long time they had butter on sale, I was like, hello, yes, I can put that in my freezer. I'll get some extra butter. So that's where it's really handy to use a service like Misfits. Another thing that I do like to use is Thrive Market. Thrive Market's a little bit different because it's mostly pantry staples, and they do have things like snacks, dried fruits. They do have beauty products, but if you want fresh fruits and vegetables, Thrive Market is not your deal, okay? You're gonna be looking at something like a Misfits or a local co-op if you can find it. That would be awesome too. But again, you might be able to save money if you're using your local co-op. And when the last time I used a local co-op, I would get things in there I normally wouldn't get, like beet grains. And I'd have to be like, well, how am I gonna use these this week? And it was a little bit of a challenge. And I kind of liked that. So there are lots of different ways to save. Like I said, Misfits is just one. I like that I don't have to go into the grocery store. And that if you get their Plus membership, which I finally caved just last month and did. And I think it's $70 for the year, but you get free shipping. And you were gonna pay $15 a month for shipping anyway. It all evens out. So whether you use that service, something else, Costco, just looking at your regular grocery store, if you want to save a couple bucks on groceries, I would take a look at what fresh fruits and vegetables are also at your farmer's market and what can you grow. Now, you may have heard me talk about my herb garden by now, which I love, okay? I love that I can grow plants. And one of my kids was just talking today about like, how would you teach someone how to make a butter sage sauce, and how much would sage cost at the grocery store? And I'm like, just get a plant when you check out, because it's gonna be cheaper than spending $10 on sage that you have no idea. It's probably not organic, you have no idea where it came from. So there are other things you can do to save on your grocery bill. But these were my tips for you this week. I hope this finds you well. And I want you to come up below and let me know your tips for saving money on groceries. I think this is gonna be a thing for a little bit, and at least for my family, because I have 2 boys and a husband, so we're not eating less anytime soon. So I'd love to hear from you. What are some of your tips? What didn't make the list? The one thing for me is I don't skimp on quality. I'm gonna continue to buy organic fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing. Sometimes you need to go to the farmer's market for that, but that's what I like. And I'm gonna keep buying what I like. But the question is, how can I stretch my dollar as long as it would possibly go? These are my tips for this week. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe and share this with a friend who you think needs help stretching their grocery budget. I mean, who doesn't at this point in time? All right, friends, I'll see you next week.